Hi, my name is Melanie Sudetic, and I'm a registered dietitian with Sodexo at University Hospitals, and today we're going to be talking about healthy back-to-school lunches.
My name is Anthony Verona. I'm the culinary director for Sodexo at UH.
Healthy back-to-school lunches are important for children to grow, learn, and thrive, and they provide some benefits such as stable energy levels, strong teeth and bones, improved memory and learning, healthy weight maintenance, and prevention of chronic diseases.
All right, you want to start getting into the recipes?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so what are we going to make today? Some healthy school lunches to take for your kids to take to school. We're going to start off by going over the recipes real quick, so I want to go over those with you today. So we're going to make a cool fruit dip with some fruit in the dip itself, and I'm going to show you that, and then we're going to chop up some fruit, show you how to store that and package it, as well as transport it. We're also going to make a fresh peach salsa. It's peach season. I don't know if you've had peaches lately, but my wife's been buying 25 pounds of peaches. We got 6 people in our family, and we're crushing them every week. So great time to use seasonal fresh produce. So we're going to make a peach salsa with a homemade crispy tortilla. I'm going to show you how to do that. And lastly, we're going to make a Southwest pasta salad, so nice vegetarian. This one has chicken in it, but you can omit the chicken, and boom, it's vegetarian. So what are you going to learn today? So as far as the yogurt dip goes, I'm going to show you a cool trick to strain the yogurt and get it a little thicker so it stays nice and thick. So that's a neat little trick. We're going to show you how to keep some of the vegetables and fruits from oxidizing, which is the browning. So we have apples and avocados, so that has a tendency to brown. We're going to show you how to reduce that browning by some acidity. And lastly, we are going to show you, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. We got a bunch of recipes here today. On the peach salsa, we're going to show you a little knife skills on how to chop that up real neat and get it nice and neat so it's not like a pureed salsa. Okay, so let's first start with the fruit dip. I'm going to go in the cooler real quick and grab my yogurt.
So one little tip for building nutritious school lunch meals is to try to include at least 3 to 4 food groups. So for your grains, you can include whole wheat bread or a whole wheat wrap, some crackers or pita bread. For your fruit, you could do slices of bananas or oranges or apples, berries, a fruit salad. For your vegetables, you can include slices of carrots, cucumbers, or celery with a dip like hummus or ranch. You could include steamed broccoli, vegetables mixed in a pasta salad, and then for your dairy you can include low-fat yogurt or cheese stick or milk or a milk substitute, something like soy milk, and then proteins you could do hard-boiled eggs, peanut butter, hummus, nuts and seeds, and then lean meats such as turkey and chicken.
All right, as I said before, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the yogurt. So this is maybe look a little strange to you, but this is, it's about 7:30, 7:45 here in the morning down at Dave's Market down at Midtown. I shopped and got some yogurt. This is some low-fat Greek yogurt, and you can see it's in a strainer. You can do this overnight in cheesecloth, or you can just dump it in a fine mesh strainer. You don't want it to come through. You can see the liquid that's coming out, and I'm going to show you. Hopefully Robert can see this. There's a bunch of liquid in there, probably about a cup of liquid, and that's just the way. So this is getting a little thicker, and we're going to use this in a couple different recipes. What I want to say is this is going to reduce your fat a lot. A lot of times people are using mayonnaise and sour cream, or primarily for this one, sour cream, full-fat sour cream, and as we all know, that's full-fat dairy. And this is low-fat yogurt. It's going to add that creaminess, and this is great. We got a couple other recipes. We're going to make a spread with it. So I highly recommend using low-fat yogurt in replace of sour cream and or mayonnaise for anything you might make. I know the other day we made homemade Big Macs at home, but for the special sauce or Thousand Island, I used low-fat yogurt, pickles, ketchup, and things like that, and you couldn't even tell the difference. It was awesome, and the fat is, I don't know the percentage, but it's got to be way low. So just a little bit on that. So this is thickened up, not a tremendous amount, because like I said, I've only been here for about 45 minutes, but you can still see it's still dripping. So neat little trick to get your yogurt a little thicker, okay? So the recipe states strawberries, because we want to tint this a little bit red and give it a little flavor. So I took some fresh strawberries, I pureed it, with just a little bit of honey and some vanilla extract. So what I want to do is add a little bit of this to my bowl. And this is going to be a great fruit dip. It's not going to be overly, bear with me one second. It's not going to be overly sweet. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this yogurt, maybe just a little bit more, and I'm going to mix this in. Now the whole key to this is you strain this, right? So now it's a lot thicker, but then you added some liquid to it, as in the pureed strawberries. If you didn't strain it, this might be just a little too thin and not very dippy, okay? So look at the color of that. There's also some chunks in there. There's some of the seeds from the outside of the strawberries. So just a neat little dip. Tastes like strawberries and yogurt with a little bit of hint of sweetness and some vanilla. It tastes great. So I'm gonna put this in a bowl here. And again, you could serve this, for kids' lunches, however you want to package it to take them to school. But this is a great little snack. So I'm gonna do a little presentation here, and I'm gonna show you real quick on how to keep these apples. Now the strawberries, not so much. They don't tend to turn brown. And strawberries really wasn't on the recipe, but I had some extra. I really want to emphasize that, whatever fruit you have laying around doesn't have to be apples. I mean, I know kids love apples, but it could be peaches, it could be strawberries, it could be pears, it could be pretty much anything you want to dip in here, fruit-wise. So I'm just going to cut up a few little strawberries and put them in this bowl. And then what I want to do is take this apple. There's a reason why I have a lime here. You could use lemon, but you want a little bit of acidity, and that's going to help prevent the apples from turning brown, especially if you're going to package them for, travel for your kids. So I kind of want to get these in, wedge form. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. Then what I like to do is take just a little bit edge of this. I mean, look how little that is. And I want the skin or the meat side up. And I just want to give them just a little squeeze. Sure, it's going to add a little bit of acidity to it, and then I rub it in a little bit. Now this isn't going to keep it from turning brown forever, but it'll probably keep it for 3, 4, 5 hours. Okay? So I'm going to put these here. We'll do one more apple real quick. And by the way, I washed all this produce, washed it nice and clean before we're using it here today. So that's an important safety measure because, stuff grows outside. So I'm going to reuse this little bit. You see, you need a few drops, maybe 10 or 15 drops. Rub that in, and that's going to give it some neat little acidity flavor as well. Okay? There you go. I mean, so simple. How many ingredients in there? 4 or 5 ingredients. And it's delicious. So we're going to put that right there. Okay. You want to say a few things while I get ready for the next recipe?
Sure. So in addition to healthy school lunch meals, you also want to focus on adequate hydration. That's also important for memory and learning throughout the day. So many school-age children and adolescents don't get enough water throughout the day. So consider packing a reusable water bottle in their lunch throughout the day to drink from.
All right, peach salsa time. First of all, I want to get a tortilla. Now this is a 12-inch tortilla. If you can't find these at the store, it doesn't matter. Use a 6-inch, 8-inch. Use whole grain, use a spinach, use a roasted tomato one. They got tons of them in the tortilla aisle, but it doesn't really matter. The thing I want to emphasize on this is you can judge the amount of salt you want on here. And it's fresher than a bag of tortilla chips, and it's fun to make, okay? And you can limit the amount of oil. So I'm going to take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. I prefer extra virgin olive oil or any type of, actually this is not extra virgin, this is just olive oil. And there's a couple differences. Extra virgin olive oil is where they take the olives and they press it And the first pressing is extra virgin, and then the second pressing is virgin olive oil, and the third pressing is what they call pumice. This doesn't say it's pumice, but it doesn't say extra virgin or virgin, so this is probably the third pressing. Very mild olive oil, great for cooking, and this is primarily what we use in my household. So I'm going to just take a little bit. You can see there's just a little bit of oil on that pastry brush, and I'm going to brush this lightly. And I do have a recipe for this. You can see that wasn't even a teaspoon of oil. And I'm going to take a little bit of seasoning. I've got some granulated garlic, some granulated onions, some a little bit of salt, and some black pepper. And I'm just going to sprinkle this over on one side, just lightly, no big deal. And then what I'm going to do is cut this in half lengthwise. And what I like to do is take this bottom piece and rub it on the oil that I just had, so the bottom gets kind of oily, not oily, but I'm not brushing more on there. So I take then the top one and do it there. So now we got both sides that are somewhat oiled. And then I like, the traditional triangle tortilla chip. Well, I'm going to make these just a little bit like fingers. I don't know, I just think they dip a little bit better. Okay. And then what you do is you put these on a sheet tray, flat. And I have one already made. So you put them on a sheet tray flat. You bake them at 350, 375 for about, 6-8 minutes. And now they're nice and crispy. Perfect. So we're going to use these here in a minute. Okay? Pretty simple. Let's get to the peach salsa. Now, I haven't prepped any of this peach salsa, so I'm going to do it all in front of you. Let's see. We got a nice peach. We've got jalapeno. And look at my recipe real quick. We've got... Now, look, this isn't a red onion. This is a shallot. No big deal. I had some shallots laying around. And we have a lime, which I already have, and a tomato. I'm going to show you a little trick with a tomato. And some cilantro. If you ever heard of a pico de gallo, basically the same thing. The only difference here is we're going to add some peach, okay? So I leave the skin on the peach. I've got my bowl here that we're going to put this in, and I want dice, okay? So I'm going to cut these nice thin strips, and then we're going to dice these up. And this is going to be like a pico de gallo. If you know, again, what pico de gallo is, there's small dices. They're not like a traditional salsa like you would get in the supermarket. So I'm just going to cut these up. You can see I'm cutting them in little planks, and then I'm dicing them up. Now, the thing about the peach is you don't want a peach that's overly ripe. Now, an overly ripe peach or a perfectly ripe peach is great to eat as a piece of fruit, piece of hand fruit. But in this case, you're going to want this to be not hard as a rock, but a little firmer than you normally would. So this is a great way, say you get a batch of peaches, and you're not really saying, oh, they're not digging them, they're not the greatest peaches in the world. This is a great avenue to make and utilize those peaches. Also, if you have a couple peaches that aren't very good, or you get a bad batch, you can cook them, make a cobbler, do a ton of different things with them, okay? So I'm going to cut this up here, one last one. Now I want this, I'm going to say I don't want it dry, but I want the liquid in this salsa to be from my olive oil and my lime juice. I don't want it from the juice of the tomatoes. So I'm going to show you a little trick here that we're going to do with the tomatoes. Now I don't waste anything. You see this right here? I'm going to use that for something. I'm not going to throw that away, so don't waste anything. So I'm going to quarter this. I'm only going to use half. You can see this tomato. Sometimes this happens. It's not the greatest looking tomato in the world, but I quartered it, and now I'm going to take this meat out. Not really meat, this juice, okay? I'm going to do that to two of them, two halves. And now what I have is just the meat of the tomato, and that's going to help me reduce that liquid that's in the salsa. Again, I just want the salsa liquid to be from the lime juice and the olive oil. You'll see it'll eat a lot better. So I put a little bit of dice on that. After this, we're going to go into the jalapeno. Now jalapenos can vary in heat. So what I like to do with a jalapeno is I'm going to take the end off, and then I'm going to cut it directly in half, take that little tip off as well. And I'm going to smell it, okay? Today it doesn't smell very hot, but you can kind of smell it. And I'm going to take a little piece off of here, and I'm going to grab and I'm going to taste it. Yeah, so it's got a little bit of heat to it. Again, sometimes they're sweeter. So with a jalapeno, it's those seeds and this membrane, these veins in here. So you see how I'm taking these out. So if they're too spicy, right? Your kids don't like spice, just leave it out. So I'm going to take a little bit of jalapeno, and it's spicy, but it's not that spicy. I think this one little piece is going to be perfect. And I like to put a lot finer chop on this than the other pieces. So I wanted to show you how, just some knife skills here as well. Show you how to cut this up. Okay, now we got our shallot that we're going to put in here. Going to make just some okay. Lastly, I think probably thinking, oh, onions and peaches. That sounds kind of weird. Let me look at my recipe real quick. We got cilantro. The thing about cilantro, you see all these stems? Those are perfectly fine. If you don't know, cilantro is the flowering part of the coriander. And coriander is a key ingredient in Latin cuisine and a lot of different cuisines. So a little bit of cilantro. Now we're going to hit it with our lime. I'll cut my lime in half. Typically limes do not have seeds. So a half of a lime, a little bit of acidity. And what else do I have in there? Just a tad bit of olive oil. Just a tad. Typically pico de gallo or salsas don't have olive oil, but I like a little bit in there. So we've got everything we need in there. We're going to toss this around. Best thing to do is let this sit. A little bit of salt and pepper. Let this sit you could let it sit for overnight, or you can eat it right away. And we're going to do a little presentation here. Give me that. We're going to fill up this bowl. I tell you, your kids take this to school. I don't know how adventurous your kids are, but they're either going to be looked at funny, or they're going to be looked at like, oh, I want that. Okay? Perfect. And we'll get my tortillas. And we're just going to do a little pile right here. There you go. All right, next recipe. Talk about the...
Yeah, so while he's preparing the pasta salad, I'm going to talk about the importance of involving your children in preparing their own school meals. So in preparing their own school meals helps with their nutrition confidence and knowledge around like the kitchen, preparing food, and also leads to lifelong healthy eating behaviors. So nutrition and eating habits are formed during childhood, and they also likely lead into their adulthood too. So it's important to try to promote healthy eating behaviors early on in life.
All right, now this one's easy. I did some pre-stuff to this just because I didn't want to cook the pasta and so forth in front of you. But this is a great pasta salad. I know we've all had pasta salads at picnics, and we dump a bunch of I don't want to give name brands, but bought salad dressings, Italian dressings, or mayonnaise-based dressings. We're going to make a dressing right on this, and that's how I prefer to do it. Some people might make a dressing and then pour it on, but we're going to make it right on the salad. Easy peasy, okay? So this is a Southwest pasta salad. Why is it Southwest? I don't know. It's got black beans and corn in it. So here we go. This is frozen corn, found anywhere. I prefer the frozen corn over the canned corn just because of the sodium content. So a little bit of corn, black beans, again, low sodium canned black beans. Easy, easy. Some fresh spinach. You see I put quite a bit in there. Some broccoli, some great color so far. All right, some cucumber. We're gonna add the chicken in a minute. A little bit of cilantro. In this case, you saw with the peach salsa, I really chopped up the cilantro, but in this case, I'm just running a knife real quick through it. Just putting a little bit in there. You kind of want it leafy. And then we're going to put a red pepper in there. I think I'm just going to give this kind of just a cool little diamond cut. Great for picnics this time of year. This is going to hold really well. The other thing I want to say about the pasta, I cooked pasta. The recipe calls for penne pasta. Well, guess what? I had rotini pasta. So what, right? The other thing is don't be afraid of the recipe. If the recipe says whatever, you can pretty much substitute anything you want. You don't like red peppers, don't put red peppers. You want yellow peppers, put yellow peppers, whatever it is. Okay, now to make this up and kick it up a notch with a little bit more Southwest spice this is just a mixture. And again, I like to make my own. Very simple: granulated garlic, granulated onion, little chili powder, paprika, a little bit of salt and pepper. You can judge the amount of salt in this then versus buying something. But this is really, and cumin, sorry, I forgot to say the cumin. This is really gonna make it that Southwest feel. A little bit of olive oil. Again, this is a big bowl. This could probably feed, I think I had 2 pounds of pasta in there, so you could probably feed 15 or 20 people, not as a main entree, but as a side dish. So that was about a 1/4 cup of olive oil, a little bit of red wine vinegar, and then again, just to kick up the Southwest, I'm going to put a little bit of lime juice in there. Right now, this is completely vegetarian and vegan. If you wanted to add some queso fresco or some type of cheese to it, you could do that. But I'm going to add the chicken to it just because this is more of an entree style right at today's recipe. But again, you could do this just as a side dish and vegetarian. So I took some chicken breast. It was sitting in a little bit of marinade of olive oil, some salt and pepper. Put it on a baking sheet and just baked it off. Really wasn't looking for a ton of color. And then I just pulled it apart. I'm going to toss this together. Vibrant colors. A lot. Look, that pasta in there was down to about a 1/4 of this bowl. And then I added tons of these vegetables. And look at that. It bulked it up and made this thing. This thing's probably 4 or 5 pounds of food now. So in that spice mix I put in there was a little bit of salt and pepper, okay? You could do this with flaked salmon, flaked tuna, beef probably, a little bit more saturated fat, but if you had some leftover flank steak or any type of steak would be great in here. I really like to mix it well. Now, if you let this sit overnight, it might absorb all that liquid, not all of it, but some of it. You might just need to dress it up a little bit more the next day. But what I prefer to do is let this sit in the refrigerator for about an hour and then eat it. But if you're putting this in your kids' lunches, by all means, maybe add just a little bit more vinegar, a little bit more oil, and it should be good to go. I stirred it very well, and I'm going to give this a quick taste. To me, that's perfect. Doesn't need any more dressing, no more salt, and it tastes Southwest to me. I mean, does that not look good?
Looks great.
Again, serve this as for a picnic. I mean, I think people would be impressed if you brought this. It doesn't look like one of those bot salads that you get at the store. Pretty simple, pretty easy. The one thing I'm gonna do and talk to you about real quick is an avocado. If you're doing this for your kids' lunches, I would recommend not putting an avocado in it, just because it will brown pretty soon. But if you're serving this at a picnic or at home, and I prefer not to toss this into it, because again, if there's any leftovers, this avocado is going to turn brown. So what I like to do is just put a little bit of fan, a little bit of cut on that, right, and put that right on top, and there you go.
And then before we wrap up the video, I'll just go over the nutrients that are provided through each one of these recipes. So for our fruit dip, that's going to be a good source of protein, calcium, vitamin D and C, and then antioxidants. And then with the peach salsa, that's going to be rich in vitamin A, vitamin C, fiber, healthy fats, and it's also going to provide nutrients such as vitamin B3, potassium, and zinc. And then for our last recipe, the Southwest pasta salad, that's going to provide protein, fiber, healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals such as iron, folate, vitamin A, C, and B6.
So lastly, I just want to say thanks for coming in and joining us. We're down here at Dave's Market today on a Friday, and hopefully you'll make some of these dishes and take it home. Looks like we got some leftovers, so we're going to be eating pretty good today. So thanks for joining us. Take care.